portion I was going to talk about is probably things that you already know about. We'll wait for a couple more minutes. Maybe more people will come in. That's probably Ed
Go ahead,
Sparks.
just like there were 20 of us here, Diane.
And like there's 20 of us here.
Yes, go ahead and tell us everything.
Well, basically, it's everything I've been telling the past couple of months. It's what our goal is of the year. It's coming to our census, and that we would like every member of the 3 stakes to be able to know how to index and how to find somebody on the census. And we still think it's a good idea. Modify it however you want to, or do whatever you want, but we love that. Was it Jeff, your idea? I can't remember the great eight greats. I think that might have been yours. So I'm preaching to the choir. But I thought it'd be such a fun thing to be able to encourage the different wards to find their 8 greats. Today in primary, I substituted for music. And because I got to pick the songs, we did genealogy songs. We did the family history song. So I asked them, do you know the names of your grandparents other than grandma and grandpa? And a lot of them did. They knew their first names. They didn't tell me their last names, but they knew their first names anyways. So I just think because there's so many members of these wards that don't even know how to find their grandparents on a census. And some of them are going to be older, but some of them are going to be on that 1950 census. So that's why we want this goal coming to our census, not just to learn how to use the census, but to get to know who their families are and how to find them on that census. So, and our other goal, of course, is to be able to help members learn how to find somebody to take to the temple. And yes, they can do it through Ordinances Ready. They can do it through any of the easier ways, but we'd like to teach them how to find it on their own a little bit so that they can go and teach other people how to find those names. So we have activities. We have our classes, of course, that Nancy teaches. The 3rd Saturday, we have an activity. I had someone write me and say, where were you last month? We had a lady from our state come and she couldn't find you. And I wondered if she only went to the center. So Heather, I'm wondering if we need to put that we're in the cultural hall or something on our announcement. So get people to come. So this Saturday, we're going to have it hands-on. I want people to just come and index and find temple names. And we'll have kind of divide them into groups so that I can help teach them with finding descendants, and Nancy and, divide our group and see how we can help with either side in finding people or learning how to index themselves without having a long introduction. So that's going to be at 9:00 this Saturday. And then, of course, in April is our big 1950 indexing party that we're going to do. And there was one ward, I can't remember whose ward it was, that asked about that and when it was, because they'd like to incorporate a ward activity with that, which is kind of a fun idea. So that's pretty much the business part of the training. And so does anybody have any comments about things that they're doing in their ward, Michelle or Jeff, or anything that you're doing?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, Diane already emailed you, of course, about doing some sort of a indexing party on the 16th, and in conjunction with what you're doing with the center there. So I did announce that today in my priesthood meeting that we're going to do this party. We're going to call it the 50s party.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's a great theme. Nancy, we're going to have fun planning that one. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Pool skirts, all that kind of stuff, right?
That's how we can advertise it, Heather. It's going to be a 50s party.
Yeah, there you go. So we hope we're going to do from 2 to 4 is what we're tentatively, thinking, having people show up. We'll have some snacks or treats or whatever, and just try to make it a party and find it. We're going to make a goal in our ward to do 10,000 names.
Wow.
But not just that one day,
Wonderful.
not just in the 2 hours, but we're going to expand it out for the whole day and maybe the week, whatever.
Yeah.
But that'll be like a kickoff, the 2 hours, and people that if they can't, we're going to encourage if they can't be there in person, they can get online and do it. So that's what we're
Doing it the
looking at.
same day that we're doing it?
Yeah, it's the 16th, same day as the center, as you guys are doing on the center. I was going to email you, I'll probably email you and get some more details what you think are thinking of doing, and we can exchange ideas.
Cool. I love that.
We haven't made all of our ideas for April yet. You've just given us some.
So Michelle, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you already know the Relief Society activity where we had a conversation about how to find people on the census, and then tried to have a mini class on indexing.
Yeah.
And just, that was what we did for January.
That was awesome. It was great. Okay, well, we'll just turn the time over to Nancy then.
Okay. First, I just think I'll report on what my husband did yesterday. He has decided to be methodical, and he bought a notebook. He's keeping track of what he's doing. And so instead of starting at an ancestor and working down, he's starting with himself and working back. But he said, how come everybody of my grandmother's families had their temple work done except her sister Alma? And I said, oh, that's because, maybe you'll remember this, maybe it'll jog memories, somebody else added Alma into that family as a boy. And so temple work cannot be done for a girl when she's a boy. And so I had tried to fix it, and all I had succeeded in doing was getting the boy removed, Alma the boy removed, but Alma the girl was marked as temple work not available. And so he said, so what do we do? So I said, well, we call 866 because that's the the 1-800 number substitute, and then the next numbers of calling for help from Salt Lake are the days that the church was organized. So 4/06/1830. And so we called and we got a missionary, and she said, this is too complicated. I can't solve it, but I can escalate it. And so she gave us all of the details and checked everything out and said, the people above me will find the answer to this and get back with you. So my husband wanted the answer back in 2 minutes, but it'll come in the next week or so. And that'll be good to be able to get the temple work done for this 13-year-old girl who died. One of, I forget how many children, 11 or something. And so it'll be good to get that family's temple work complete. So that was a very positive thing that Charles accomplished in his family history this week. Okay, now to Roots Tech. In Roots Tech, they gave us information about indexing the 1950 census. And this is what they had to say. Roots Tech and Family Search have made a partnership for the 1950 census. And so the ancestry says, we have lots of high-tech abilities. And the church said, we have a lot of volunteer capabilities. And so as soon as the index pages are released, Ancestry will immediately begin running them, processing them with their equipment that is able to have the machine read handwriting and index it. So as soon as they can, they're just going to try, to run 24 hours a day and get it done as fast as possible so that the census is all indexed by computer. Then members of the church can then go out and choose which enumeration district, because the census is divided into parts, and each enumeration district it's divided into enumeration districts, and each census taker goes to one enumeration district, and that's their responsibility. So the enumeration districts were made up in prior to 1950, and the maps are online at the National Archives of which place was in which enumeration district. So then the church then will supply the volunteers to proof check what the computers did. And in some cases, they might have done pretty good, in some cases not. My husband is serving a mission at the Records Operations Center, which is the pre and post indexing location. And he did some of that this week, where he was the checker for computer indexes of handwriting. And he said some of them were good and some of them were horrible. So each person that wants to help index the census will go to indexing, and there'll be two ways to access it. So I'm going to share my screen, and I will show you, whoops, you see my email, a little bit about how this is to be done. Usually when we open up Family Search, we get a list at the top of the screen right here. It says Family Search in the green logo, and then it says Family Tree Search Memories Indexing. Whoa, it doesn't say indexing anymore. It says Get Involved. And if you click on Get Involved, then you get indexing. And so that is how we will be doing, that is how we will access indexing on our computers. The church is also going to, prior to April 1st, release an app that's available on your phone, and the name of it is Get Involved. And that app will be for doing the second round of indexing, and it's called Reviewing of what the computers have indexed on the 1950 census. So with this method, instead of having to be indexed by two separate people, one that does it initially and one that checks it, it will be done by the computer and then the person that checks it. And in some cases, it should be pretty clear. And in some cases, it probably will be almost like doing it from scratch. But that is how they plan to do it, to get it done in a timely manner. Now, how in the world, oh, then the other thing they're doing is they are going to, they've already been working with the National Archives, and they know, the church knows that people always say, I wish I could index my own choice. I wish I could choose what I'm indexing. So for the 1950 census, we can choose what we're indexing. And their idea is that most of us are going to choose where our family was living in 1950. Now, if there are a lot of people in Provo that want to index Provo, probably not all of them will be able to do that. But so I looked up on the National Archives to see how we find out which enumeration district we're in, and it's complex. But I should have known that it wouldn't stay that way. There is a man whose name is Stephen Morris. Morse, like Morse code, Stephen Morse. And he's an engineer who has looked at some of these things with an engineer's mind. And he has gone through and simplified stuff. One of the things that he's simplified is how to find your ancestor that came in through Ellis Island. And now he's simplified how to find your family in the 1950 census. So he has made a website called, well, his regular website is stephenmorse.org, .org. But he has a division of that called How to Access the 1950 Census in One Step. And if you he's got lots of other stuff about the 1950 census. But if you come down here to where it says, using the 1950 enumeration district maps, and specifically his one-step enumeration district map tool, you click on that and you get this page. So when you get this page, you get select the state. Now in 1950, I lived in New Mexico. So I can choose New Mexico, and then New Mexico's list of counties shows up. And it just happens that Bernalillo County is designated as county number 1 because it is the first in the alphabetical list of counties. And then if I go to the city, I have 2 options. I have Albuquerque and people that live in the county but out of Albuquerque. So I choose that. And then I come down to the next section. And the next section is not the National Archives enumeration maps, because if I click that, I would get the maps of Albuquerque that they use to make the enumeration districts. And those are in such faded ink that I couldn't even read it. I couldn't even find anything. So instead I go to the, it made sense when I did this an hour ago. Is it frequently asked questions? No? Okay, so this is what I'm going to show you. What I need to find is the Unified Census ED Finder. So there should have been a button to push on that page, but I lost it. So stephenmorse.org/census/unified/HTML. So then I get this form and I fill it out, and it already says Colorado, Montezuma, but now I read, oh, that's my other practice one. Back to New Mexico. And so now I need County Bernalillo, and city is Albuquerque. And now I can fill out the street where I lived. And I lived at 1103 Del Mar. So I go down in the drop-down list and find Del Mar. And this is going to be, it just happens that Del Mar is one of the streets that runs from the city limits on one side to the city limits on the other side. But if I know the street that's nearby that goes the opposite direction, I click it in, and it's North 4th Street. And now it tells me down right here that the enumeration district that my house was in is 1, because Bernalillo is the first county by alphabet, and district number 4. So I can click that, and it will tell me that. I can't look up the census yet, that it'll be here soon, but I know that I will be in enumeration district 1-4 in New Mexico. Now I wondered the same thing. What about my grandmother's house? My grandmother lived in Colorado. And her county was Montezuma. But she lived out in the country. They didn't even consider a city or town being big enough in Montezuma County to list it. So I just have to say other. So what other ideas do I have? I do know, I looked it up, and in the 1940 census, she lived in Upper Bancos. And so, click. I don't know exactly whether she's going to be enumeration district 42. There must be 42 counties in Colorado, or else they gave some of those numbers to the city of Denver. And she's either in District 1 or District 3. So I can choose to look for her. I can request to do the census for Colorado, Enumeration District 42-1 or 42-3. And those would be the same enumeration districts that my grandparents on the other side are on. So by doing one, or first one and then the other of those enumeration districts, I will be able to find my grandparents. So I think it's really exciting that we can choose which district we do. But we're not going to want to wait until the day the census is available and then start finding out the enumeration district so that we can request it. And we will have to remember that instead of going under indexing, we will go under get involved. But I imagine there's going to be great interest in people finding their own family. I think that's remarkable that they were able to do that. Now, how in the world do you know what the address was of the people that you want to look for in the 1950 census? Elsewhere on his website, he lists lots of ways you might figure it out. And I was surprised. He makes the assumption that a lot of us wouldn't know where our living family lived 72 years ago. And I guess that's right. So what do you think some of the ideas that he came up with would be? Can any of you think of how you would know where your grandparents lived or where you lived in 1972? I mean in 1950. 72 years ago. Well, the way that I remember, last night or earlier this week, I remembered I lived on Delmar Street. This afternoon, I couldn't remember that I lived on Delmar Street. I had to call my sister. So that's an idea. Call people that maybe would remember, maybe they're a little bit older than you, although my sister's younger, that would know that address. Can you think of other ways that you would know? Mr. Morse has like 50 ideas. So certainly some of you can suggest some.
Look at an earlier census.
Where they were in the 1940 census? Good idea. That was how I verified, or what I used to find the district for my grandparents. Did anybody else do this? At some point in time, I had an address book, and I wrote in the front cover of that address book every address that I've ever lived at. Might there be an address book that somebody in the family has that gives addresses? Because in a lot of cities, addresses are listed on the far left-hand side of the census pages. Any other ideas? City directories are a good idea. Phone books are a good idea. Address books, the memory of older people, envelopes that you might have where somebody wrote a letter and you saved the envelope that the letter was in. Okay, now I want somebody to tell me where they think they might have been in 1950. Elsie, maybe you should be the one that tells me where you lived in 1850. Do you know where you lived or where your family lived in 1950? Elsie, you need to talk louder and you need to turn the microphone off. I think you've turned off your microphone. Can you talk a little louder? I'm not hearing you at all. So does somebody, Elsie, since we're not hearing you, does somebody know how to turn Elsie's microphone on? Elsie, I'm real sad that I can't hear you. So I'm gonna instead ask Ed or Elsie. Let me ask the other Elsie. And I'm sorry that we didn't hear you. Diane, you're talking, but you're also muted.
Elsie's unmuted now.
Okay, Elsie. Say something and we'll see if we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Oh,
Maybe
I heard
since
you
you
just a
have-
minute. Maybe your microphone's not loud enough. Elsie, don't feel bad, but we're going to ask the other Elsie, okay? Sorry. Okay, Elsie Sparks. Show us your face and tell us where you're from or where your family was in 1950. And I'm not hearing Elsie either. Elsie, are you talking? Elsie Sparks, are you talking to me? Unmute yourself. Lessons are supposed to be more interesting when instead of just the teacher talking all about her, when she involves people that are in the class. That's what I'm trying to do, but it's not working very well yet. Ed, are you just about ready to unmute? You're not. Should I go on to somebody else? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, whoever feels like being an example, raise your hand by turning off turning mute off and talk to me. Elsie, I can't hear you. I wonder if your microphone is turned off inside your computer. Jeff, would you be willing to turn your mute button off and tell us about your family in 1950? It says the host is not allowing us to unmute. Okay. Maybe I changed that.
Now do you hear me?
I hear you. Probably when I was trying to help fix it so that Elsie could do it, I probably clicked the wrong button. I'm sorry about that. Okay,
Oh,
Michelle.
technology is so fun. You want me to give you a name to try and
Yeah, no, a place.
help me find an enumeration district for sort of thing? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So we can try my grandmother, hopefully. Let's see, where was she in 1950? I'm trying to remember. I think, let's see. So her name, wait, do you type in the name first or you type?
No, because it's not indexed yet, names don't work.
Okay, names do not work.
So just places.
Okay, so hang on a second. I'm trying to figure out where she was in 1950 because I don't believe she lived in California anymore. I believe she was in the state of Arizona at that time.
Okay,
And
Arizona.
maybe.
What county do you think she would have been in?
Well, now there's the tricky thing, isn't it? Because when you her husband was a highway engineer. And so to build highways, you lived in a trailer and you move every 6 months.
Okay.
So let me, I'm going to her profile and family search to see if I can remember about roughly where she was at that time. If she had.
I think we can all start to get the idea of why we want to do this before April 1st.
Indeed. Okay. So I believe, yeah, we're gonna say Navajo County. And I have
Navajo
no
County
idea.
includes Holbrook, okay? And
I have no idea what city. I have no idea what town she would have been nearest to. Come to think
okay,
of it.
let's say this says that Winslow is the only city big enough to be marked. So should we choose
Okay.
other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Choose other.
And you don't yet have a house number or a street number, a street name.
No.
So so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Winslow just for the sake of this.
Okay.
And Winslow might be any of these enumeration districts. So if we knew which street, that would give us an idea. But they also might have lived in Holbrook. They also might have lived in Sanders or a bunch of other little cities. And the reason I know any of that at all is because that's where we served our mission.
Really?
But you see,
Okay.
This is enumeration districts, and it would give Michelle the opportunity to do something near where her family might have been. And if she were to find her family, she would just be so delighted. Okay, somebody else. Elsie, do you want to try again? Or does somebody else want to volunteer?
This is Helen, and I can give you some information about my grandparents.
Okay.
So my maternal grandparents lived in Smithfield, Utah.
So Utah.
Uh-huh.
And what county is Smithfield in? Is it in Cache County?
Yes.
And since it's not in Logan, we just choose other. Okay. Let's put in Smithfield and see what we get. Okay. And these are the possible enumeration districts for your family. Now let's click on just 3, which would be Cache County. Let's choose 347A. And let's see if it will give us information about that. And it doesn't. On my one from New Mexico, I was able to see, or maybe this is the one I clicked on. Enumeration district. No, if that's not giving me, unless, oh, here we get it. Smithfield. So Smithfield will be either 360, 361, 362, or 363. And if you know about whether they live outside of Smithfield, but maybe near Farmersville, or by Second South, between city limits, you maybe narrow it down by doing that.
They lived on First North.
North.
Yeah, First
North. Well, I can't tell by looking at that. But so that sounds kind of like it's in the middle of the city.
Yes.
So maybe First North is close to Second South. Or maybe at this point, you can go directly to the map, which is, we can go back to this first page, I think, and go to the National Archives and get the maps for the state of Utah and follow this through. And maybe Smithfield, Utah will have a much better map than Albuquerque, New Mexico has. And so maybe by that, you can follow through and figure out which of the enumeration districts it is. If you have a map of an enumeration district, it is going to have, the city is going to be divided into sections with an orange pen and then an orange number inside that area that's enclosed by the orange pen, and that will be the enumeration district. So if you get the map from the National Archives site, and you would do that by clicking here and then doing the search for 1950 Census Enumeration District. And I'll tell you, it's crazy. It doesn't have, you can't do it alphabetically. You can't do it by location. Utica, New York, Trenton, New Jersey, Greensboro, North Carolina, Austin, Texas. It's really difficult to wade through. And because Stephen Morris knew that that was difficult to wade through, that's why he made the website that he made with being able to narrow it down into that many things. So he has really made this very much easier for us than going through all of the different long list that's on the National Archives website.
Address.
What? I think it's going to be really fun to be able to look for my own family.
Nancy, can we look up Wix's?
Yes, we can look up Wix's.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Unified Finder. Okay. And was his family in Minnesota?
Yeah, Long Lake.
Minnesota. What county do you know?
You remember the county? No, just Long Lake.
Okay. So when we do that, then we go to Google and we look up Minnesota counties. Actually, I shouldn't have chosen a list. I should have chosen a map.
An hour west of Minneapolis. They're directly west.
It's an hour west of Minneapolis.
Okay. If I pull up this map, can you find it?
Can you find it by looking at a map, Wix?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Okay, I don't know where. It's an hour's north of where?
Minneapolis. West
Well,
of
I don't know where
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis is.
It's just over.
Okay.
Right off.
Here's Minneapolis in Hennepin County.
And it's if you go straight west on Highway 12, it's on Highway 12. And when you go past Wayzata,
Long Lake, Minnesota.
Wayzata is a big community. Lake Minnetonka is near Wayzata, and then about maybe 5 or 10 miles farther west is Long Lake.
Okay, does McLeod County or Meeker County or Sibley County sound possible?
I don't know the county.
Okay, I don't either. Let's try this way. Let's try family search. Alice, do you have your computer open?
I do.
Can you look up one of Wix's family that lives in that part of Minnesota and see what family search says the county they were in?
Okay.
So again, this is why we are doing it prior to April 1st.
So I am looking.
Of course, this is something that none of us can do because Wix doesn't show up on our family trees. Alice, maybe we should continue this after the official class is over.
Sure.
Any other questions that anybody else has about how to do this process? Anybody else want to stick around later and we'll look together to see things. I'm going to try one more thing real quick. Alexa, what county is
Long Lake,
Big Lake?
Long Lake.
Schuyler County is a county located in the U.S. state of New York.
Well, Alexa, what county is Long Lake, Minnesota in?
Long Lake, Minnesota is located in Hennepin County. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
H-E-N-N.
Thanks for your feedback.
Hennepin County. Long Lake is the name of the town.
Minneapolis.
Right.
So Minneapolis is not where he was from, and Long Lake doesn't show up here. So we click on other, and then we'll type in Long Lake. Okay, we couldn't put in a house number because it's not a bigger city, and it says no enumeration districts were found.
Mm.
Okay.
Try Wyzetta.
Wyzetta, spell Wyzetta.
W-Y-Z-A-T-A.
W-Y-Z-E-T-A.
Yeah. Or A-T. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't like the way I spelled it. Okay, so Alice and I are going to have to get together and work more on this one, which is why we have to do it before April 1st. By the way, Alice is going to be at my house on April 2nd. So we just might be doing this together when she comes to quilt. We might have our quilting distracted for an hour or so. That's my lesson for today. So let me know when you find your counties, and next month we'll be interested to have a report on who has found their family in the 1950 census, because that's how quick it's coming.
Maybe if you come on Saturday, we can help you then too to find the enumeration district.
If she comes on fast day. I'm not sure what day fast day is going to be around conference.
Saturday, if you come on Saturday to our activity.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, Alice lives in
Alice
Oregon, so
can't
she
come
won't
to
be here
that,
then.
Other people.
But other people, I'll help other people at our party on Saturday.
Oh, invite your ward members. Come and play. It's fun.
And find your enumeration district so you're ready to go.
Nancy, that's great.
Maybe our stake should try to cooperate and get all of Utah County indexed quickly, starting with Provo.